Let's cross live to Mr. David Siegel, the president of Friends of FELNET and a former Israeli diplomat. Thank you so very much, Mr. Siegel, for speaking with us this evening, and Happy New Year's, if I may. Let's begin with the UN bid that passed today that we've just mentioned. Obviously not good news for Israel, but if we dive in a bit further into voting patterns here, we can see that so-called like-minded countries, the US, Canada, Australia, and more relevant to our conversation, and now the UK, Germany, Italy voting against or abstaining. So what do you make of it?
Well, I think you put your finger on what is most important here. It is the position of the like-minded countries. This is what it's all about. It's Israel's work, and the organization that I am affiliated with, FELNET's work in Europe, is to make sure that the like-minded countries, together with Israel, are working in the most close form of cooperation. And just to say, we're looking at the year that we just finished, and there were so many surprises this year, so many things that were unanticipated. No one predicted this war in Ukraine or Sweden, Finland joining NATO or in the process of joining NATO, and so many things that are unclear, that it just underscores the point that Israel and the like-minded countries of the West need to work together on all these global issues.
Yes, no other way to put it. Must stay together indeed. With that said, Mr. Siegel, the newly sworn-in government, considered to be the most hawkish in Israel's history, is raising some Western concerns, especially over potential moves when it comes to West Bank settlements. Is it left to cry wolf, so to speak, or do you identify an actual risk to Israel's relations when it's with its European allies, rather?
Well, it's always good to be risk-averse when it comes to global diplomacy, but I would argue that this right-wing government in Israel is not the first that the Europeans are aware of or experiencing themselves. So this is fairly a known phenomena in the democracies of the West. And I, again, believe that given the world and where we are in terms of the global challenges that we face as a result of the war in Ukraine and the opportunities in the Abraham Accords in the Middle East, and working together to counter the threat of Iran, that is not just a threat to Israel, but a threat to the body and heart of Europe itself. This is where we need to focus, and what we plan to do is to continue to focus on the shared interests and shared values that Israel and the like-minded states of the West, and certainly in Europe, Israel's largest trade partner, have together.
And in this respect, Mr. Siegel, we've been reporting that Israel's ambassador to France stepping down, a critical move in face of the new government. And at the same time, we do need to remind ourselves and our viewers that Benjamin Netanyahu, during his years in the reign, established close ties with many Eastern European countries and generally sought to enhance bilateral ties instead of fighting the EU in Brussels. Do you think that we are to see the same modus operandi this time around as well?
Well, let me just say about the ambassador's resignation. Please. Ambassador Grauman, who I respect very much. She's a political appointee of the previous government. I think it's totally understandable and natural that there will be ambassadors that will stand up and remove themselves if the government changes. This happens in many Western countries, not just in Israel, and there are precedents of this in Israel as well.
Right.
Regarding the rest of your question, we'll continue to work on all these opportunities and challenges together, and I think there's a lot of room for Israel to work together with the West on the issues that we need to face together. And we at FELNET will find, by the way, we had 23 delegations to Israel this year from all over Europe, and more from Eastern and Central Europe, which are countries that are becoming more important politically in the European context as a result of the war. As you know, they're all frontline countries. Right. They identify very closely with Israel. But that being said, Brussels is not hostile to Israel. Israel will continue to work in Brussels on the multilateral level, on the pan-European level, but also on a state-to-state level, as we've done before. I don't see any difference there. And I just want to remind your viewers that, Israeli governments come and go quite rapidly, frequently in recent years, unfortunately. But what we do see is a continuity in Israel's foreign policy, continuity in Israel's national security policy.
Right.
And you have to believe that this will continue given what's at stake with Iran going nuclear, the critical challenges that Europe, Israel, the new Middle East partners that Israel has, the Eastern Mediterranean, the gas, the food, climate change. These are the challenges that we'll continue to focus on and work on together with these like-minded countries. I believe very much that this will be the case in the coming year.
Yes, absolutely. An important clarification there. It was a political nomination of the ambassador to France, not a former diplomat. And as you've mentioned, Mr. Siegel, perhaps the new year will bring more cooperation and focus on the shared challenges rather on the points of contention. Mr. David Siegel, President of Friends of FELNET and former Israeli diplomat, thank you very much for your time and insight. And once again, Happy New Year's. Thank you, sir.
Happy New Year. Thank you.